All right. So you guys really threw us a curveball this time
Yeah.
with this deep dive.
Yeah.
You want the inside scoop on the 2024 U.S. presidential election,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
you didn't hold back on the sources,
Cool.
Wikipedia, international news, even an astrologer's predictions.
Absolutely.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it's really captured global attention.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Turkish and French Wikipedia pages are all over it.
Wow.
And I think what's so interesting about this one is that it's not just about who wins. It's what does this election say about America?
Right.
You know, and kind of by extension, the world.
Yeah, it's like the whole world is holding its breath
Totally.
to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So just as a reminder,
Yes.
we've got incumbent Democrat Vice President Kamala Harris running with Tim Walz. And on the other side, former President Donald Trump
Right.
running with J.D. Vance.
It's a rematch.
Talk about a clash of titans.
It is a rematch for the history books, for sure.
And looking at your sources, some clear themes emerge. Potential election disputes.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's on edge about that.
For sure.
The economy, a big one, naturally.
Research.
Immigration, a perennial issue. And then, of course, we can't forget the astrological prediction.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you read that right.
Astrology.
All right, let's break it down.
Okay.
Starting with immigration.
All right.
Your sources highlight the sharp rise in U.S.-Mexico border crossings
Right.
in 2023 and early 2024.
Yeah.
Trump is really hitting this one hard,
Yeah.
proposing to hire 10,000 more Border Patrol agents,
Wow.
even wants to offer them a signing bonus,
Oh,
which has the Border Patrol Union cheering.
smart move.
Right.
Really tapping into a key concern there
Yeah.
with his base.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting. Harris isn't really directly countering those border security proposals.
Interesting.
She's focusing more on the aftermath of Hurricane Helen.
And criticizing the spread of misinformation about the government's response.
So almost trying to shift the narrative a little bit.
Yeah.
Highlight a different aspect of leadership.
Absolutely.
Okay, speaking of challenges, that poll you sent over showing 59% of Americans believe the economy is getting worse.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That's got a sting
right.
for the incumbent party.
Yeah,
And Trump is definitely seizing on that,
Yeah.
blaming the current administration for inflation.
of course.
It's right out of his 2016 playbook.
Totally.
Paint a picture of a nation in crisis,
Right.
and then position yourself as the only one who can fix
The
it.
only one.
The only one.
And Harris's response, she's pushing back,
yeah.
but with specifics,
Right.
highlighting her economic plans.
Yes.
This is the
The details.
50,000 tax deductions for startups,
Yeah.
$6,000 for young families, even down payment assistance.
Wow. So she is really getting into the nitty-gritty.
She's not shying away from the detail.
No, she's not.
It's almost like she's saying, look, here's how I'm going to help your wallet directly.
It's a very targeted approach.
Yeah.
Appealing to very specific demographics.
Yeah.
Whether voters will see that as realistic or just campaign promises.
Right.
That's the big question.
That's the million-dollar question.
It is.
All right, for a little curveball, let's talk abortion.
Okay.
This has been a huge issue
It's huge.
since Roe v. Wade was overturned.
Yeah.
And this election cycle is no different.
Of course not.
Harris is really doubling down on this one, promising to codify abortion protections if she wins.
Okay.
And she is not holding back in her criticism of states that have enacted those strict bans,
I've heard that.
especially those without exceptions for rape or incest.
Right.
So she's really framing this as government overreach,
Absolutely.
a direct infringement on personal freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Trump's stance on abortion,
Yes.
it's evolved, to say the least.
It's shifted a bit, hasn't it?
Evolved? You're being very diplomatic.
Well,
What's the inside scoop?
remember the Florida 6-week ban?
Yes.
Initially, Trump expressed some reservations about that,
Okay.
called it too restrictive,
All right.
even suggested he'd prefer a longer time frame.
Okay, so a little wishy-washy,
A little bit.
but not completely out of character for him.
Right.
What happened? What happened?
Well, and then boom, a total 180.
Wow.
He comes out fully in support of that 6-week ban.
Really? So a flip-flop.
A flip-flop for sure.
Yeah, that definitely raised some eyebrows.
Analysts are scratching their heads on this one.
Yeah.
Is it to solidify his base?
Right.
Is it reaction to pressure within his own party?
Yeah.
It's really hard to say for sure. But it's definitely injected a whole lot of uncertainty
Uncertainty for sure.
into the abortion debate.
Okay, so we've covered those big policy items.
Yeah.
But we can't ignore the wild card in the room.
Right.
Astrology.
Yes.
You included some really fascinating insights from Marin Altman,
She's great.
the astrologer who made waves with her predictions last election. What's she saying about this one?
Well, she is predicting a Harris victory.
Okay.
And there had to be but
Of course.
she also sees some choppy waters ahead.
Like what?
Financial investigations.
Oh.
Possibly some electoral college drama.
Oh, boy.
And get this, a long, drawn-out aftermath of disputes.
No matter who wins.
Regardless of who wins.
Buckle up, folks.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
It's not even American politics anymore. It's a full-blown astrological thriller.
That's right.
But on a more serious note, you also included some interesting perspectives from international analysts.
Yeah, a lot of European analysts are drawing some parallels with their own recent elections.
Okay.
They're pointing to this rise in anti-establishment sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying that trend, which has already reshaped European politics,
Yeah.
could be a major factor in the U.S. election as well.
Interesting. So it's not just an American thing.
Not at all.
It's like a global wave we're seeing.
Absolutely.
So how does this play into the current election?
Well, if we think about the candidates,
Okay.
it actually really helps to explain Trump's continued appeal.
Even after a very tumultuous presidency.
Exactly. He's still seen by many as this ultimate outsider.
It's kind of ironic when you think about it.
Let's go.
He's the former president, like the ultimate insider.
Right.
But he's managed to hold on to that anti-establishment image.
He really has, and it's a testament to his ability to tap into that.
To what?
That frustration and disillusionment
Yeah,
that a lot of Americans are feeling.
for sure. And how does Harris respond to that?
It's a trickier path, for sure.
How so?
Well, as the incumbent party's nominee,
Right.
she has to walk this fine line,
Between what?
projecting experience and stability, but also appealing to voters who want change.
Who are hungry for that change.
Exactly. It's a tough needle to thread.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay, before we get to the candidates themselves,
Yeah.
there's one more thing I wanted to unpack from your sources.
Okay.
Project 2025.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi thriller.
It does.
But it's actually a real policy plan, right?
It's a blueprint outlining policy priorities for a potential second Trump administration.
And it's causing quite a stir.
It really is.
Yeah.
Especially the proposals related to abortion.
Yeah, it's not pretty for
Yeah.
people who support abortion rights.
Oh, not at all.
So what does it say?
Well, while Trump himself has tried to distance himself from Project 2025,
Oh, okay.
Harris is not letting him off the hook that easily.
I bet not.
No, she's using it to raise the alarm about the potential consequences
Of what?
of a Trump victory,
Okay.
particularly for women's reproductive rights.
Interesting.
She's even suggesting that it could lead to a national abortion monitoring system.
Wow, that's a big claim.
It is.
I mean, true or not,
Right.
it's going to resonate with voters
For
who are
sure.
already concerned about the future of Roe v. Wade.
Absolutely. And it plays into that larger narrative she's trying to build.
Which-
That a vote for Trump is a vote to turn back the clock on progress,
Okay.
particularly on social issues.
So it's about more than just the policy itself.
Right.
It's about painting a very specific picture
Exactly.
of what a second Trump term might look like.
Exactly. It's about tapping into those anxieties and fears that people have,
Yeah.
especially those who feel like their rights are under attack.
Okay, enough about the issues themselves.
Right.
Let's talk about the players in this high-stakes game.
Right.
It's fascinating to see how Trump and Harris are approaching this election.
How so?
It's almost like they're running in two different races.
It does feel that way.
Yeah.
Trump is sticking to what he knows best. Those massive rallies,
The rallies.
the fiery rhetoric,
Yeah.
and a healthy dose of grievance politics.
Yeah, it's like a broken record.
What's that?
Remember his claims about the 2020 election being stolen?
Oh, yeah,
Well, he's back at it again.
of course.
Already laying the groundwork to challenge the results if he loses.
If he loses, right?
Yeah, and let's not forget his love of personal attacks.
Oh,
Remember that jab he took at people who left his rallies early because they were bored?
classic.
Well,
That's classic Trump.
A mix of bravado showmanship and a healthy dose of disdain.
It's a potent cocktail,
Right.
for sure.
And then on the other side, you have Harris,
Right.
who's running a completely different race.
Night and day.
Yeah.
While Trump is all about stirring up the base and playing on those anxieties,
Mm-hmm.
Harris is laser focused on policy details and experience.
It's like she's saying, look, I've been there, done that. I've got a plan.
Exactly. She's emphasizing her time as vice president, her deep understanding of the issues,
Right.
and her vision for a more inclusive and equitable America.
So she's really leaning into that experience.
Yes.
Okay, so it's experience versus charisma,
Yeah.
policy details versus emotional appeals.
It's almost like two different visions of what it means to be president
Right.
clashing before our eyes.
Okay, so we've laid out the stakes.
Yes.
Explored the issues.
We have.
Analyzed the candidates' playbooks.
Yeah. Did it?
Now for the million-dollar question.
What's that?
Who's going to win?
If I had a crystal ball,
Right.
I would tell you,
But you've got access to all the data.
even with all the data in the world,
Yeah.
predicting the future.
Right.
It's a fool's errand, especially in this political climate.
Yeah, no doubt. But surely there are some clues we can glean from your sources.
Maybe?
Yeah. What should we be paying attention to in these final days?
One thing that really jumps out is voter enthusiasm.
Okay.
Seems to be favoring Harris at the moment.
Okay.
But the economy remains a major vulnerability for her.
It's a big one.
It is.
And of course, we can't forget that wild card
Of what?
of potential election interference.
Right.
Disputes.
It's always a possibility.
Okay.
It's going to be a nail-biter right down to the wire.
No doubt about it. Speaking of nail-biters, you mentioned swing states.
Yeah.
Are there any specific ones that you think
Oh, yeah.
will make or break this election?
Absolutely. The Wall Street Journal poll you sent over highlights a few key battlegrounds.
Okay.
Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Wisconsin.
Wow. So basically every state is up for grabs.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
These states are all in play.
Yeah.
And even small shifts in voter sentiment could totally tip the scales.
So every vote really does count.
Every vote counts.
No pressure, America.
No pressure at all.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here today.
We have
The candidates, the issues, the potential pitfalls.
the drama,
Oh, yes.
the intrigue.
What does this all mean for our listener, the one at home who's trying to make sense of this whirlwind of information?
You know, I think the sources that you've gathered paint a really, really vivid picture
Of what?
of a nation at a crossroads,
Yeah.
deeply divided, facing some really, really tough questions about its identity and its future.
It feels very uncertain right now.
It does, and it's not just happening in a vacuum.
Right.
We're seeing these same tensions and anxieties playing out on the global stage as well.
So it's not just an American story, it's a global one.
It's a global story.
That's being written as we speak.
Exactly, and that's what makes this election so significant,
Yeah.
so consequential.
Yeah.
It's not just about choosing a president.
Right.
It's about choosing a direction for the country,
Yeah.
for the world.
For sure. And making choices that'll have a ripple effect for years and years to come.
Absolutely.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
Your sources, they've given us this glimpse into the present, a snapshot of the forces shaping this election.
Right.
But the real question, the one that lingers long after the votes are counted,
What's that?
is what kind of America, what kind of world
Yeah.
will emerge from this moment?
It's a great question.
It's a question for all of us.
Yeah, something for all of us to ponder and debate,
For sure.
and ultimately to help shape
Absolutely.
through our actions and our choices.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there you have it, folks. A fascinating look at the 2024 U.S. presidential election.
It really is fascinating.
Thank you to our expert for breaking down these complex issues.
Happy to be here.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us on this deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
Be sure to tune in next time for another deep dive into a topic that matters.
Can't wait.
Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay curious.